think we can kick this off. Stop the music. I'll stop sharing so Emily can share once I'm done talking. But first, hello and welcome everyone to another session of WeWork Lab Sales Academy, the Americas edition. Our topic today is leveraging automation to close leads. So a bit of an advanced topic, but I think we're ready for that after, how long has it been? Like after almost 2 months of WeWork Sales Academy. For today's session, we are partnering with HubSpot for Startups. If you are a WeWork Labs member, you qualify for HubSpot for Startups. We will share a link in the chat shortly where you can apply and receive up to 90% off pending eligibility. And I'm especially excited to introduce today's speaker, Emily Lin. Emily has actually helped me source speakers from within HubSpot multiple times already in several different WeWork Labs programs. And this is the first time that we actually have her speak on our virtual stage. So I'm super excited for that, Emily. Emily is a financier turned startup evangelist and mentor who pivoted from transactional finance before venturing into the startup world. Prior to HubSpot for Startups, she was a VP at Everest Ventures, assisting early stage startups with go-to-market strategy and capital raising. Leveraging her background in ventures and functional experience advising startups, she now leads the go-to-market strategy development and growth of the HubSpot for Startups program based in New York City. She also mentors and educates startups across stages and sectors on all things growth and go-to-market to help tackle their operational challenges and create 0 to 1 playbooks. As usual, we'll be doing a Q&A at the end of this session, so please share any and all questions that might come up through the Q&A function at the bottom of your Zoom screen, and we will get to those questions after Emily is done presenting. Emily, we're so excited to have you with us today. The stage is all yours.
Thank you, Stephanie, and thanks, Chandler, for setting this up and helping us with logistics. Welcome, everyone. So let me share my screen. All right. Stephanie, can you give me a quick thumbs up if you can?
Looks good.
Okay,
yep.
Perfect. Sometimes you never know how things go.
Still loading. That looks perfect. Take it away.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Well, thanks for joining, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. I'm assuming most of you are either on the East or West Coast. And also just good evening in case you are actually in other regions. But yeah, I'm really glad to be joining all of you here today. Today's session is brought to you by HubSpot Startups. And I will say that this HubSpot-led session is a little more tactical than most sessions that you've seen coming from HubSpot. And we're going to actually delve into some of the tools within HubSpot to look at automation, to look at sales and automation as a whole, and how you should think about sales and marketing automation holistically as well. So just a super quick overview of HubSpot for Startups, and I'm sure a lot of you may be familiar with HubSpot already, but just to serve as a refresher, some of the things that we provide as part of our program is that we provide exclusive educational sessions and webinar opportunities such as this, focused on building sales, marketing, and growth strategies for startups in today's economy. Access to over 500 software integrations, and again, up to 90% off our software pending eligibility. So a quick intro of myself before jumping into the agenda, and thanks Stephanie for the amazing intro. I'm currently leading partnerships and growth for the HubSpot Startups program based in New York and helping startups grow through mentorship. My background started in the financial industry and venture capital. I was helping early stage startups raise capital. And then when I realized that no matter how much money you invest in a startup, if they don't have a predictable way to grow and scale their revenue, they'll be out of business. So, I really wanted to get into product-led growth and everything about the operating models on the product side. So in terms of today's agenda, we're going to walk through a few different things. First of all, we need to understand what inbound is all about and why it matters to automation. We're going to talk about what sales automation is and how your sales team can be saving time so they can focus on what matters the most. Then we'll talk about trigger events and capitalizing on hot leads. How do you use different trigger events and what are they? What does that mean for your business? Then we'll walk through what marketing automation is and understand how to create a workflow or how automation can be created in HubSpot. Finally, I will open it up to questions at the end for those of you who may have questions. And I will say that this session is a little more beneficial to those who are already on our CRM or have been navigating or exploring HubSpot as an option. But I will also say that this is also beneficial and introduction to sales and marketing automation if that's something you haven't, if that's one piece you haven't really looked at or explored for your business. So without further ado, let's get to it. Just a quick overview of inbound marketing or inbound methodology. So HubSpot essentially coined the term inbound marketing. And what inbound marketing really means is creating a strategy where you bring leads to you and your customers are coming to you organically. They've already seen you as an additive or help to their business, their lives. And what this means is that for your business, these leads would convert at a much higher rate. These are much happier customers that convert faster because they're better educated on your service or product. What you can get from sessions like this combined with our software is a platform that's going to help you configure a strategy for bringing in and closing these inbound leads. And if you don't have an automated email marketing process set up, you're missing out on some major opportunities to nurture and engage your contacts. And once these inbound leads come through, you want to be able to nurture and convert them through an automated sales process. So questions for you guys. Do you already have sales automation in place? I'm gonna exit, just pop into the chat for me. Yes, no. Awesome. No, yep, a bit, no. Yes, so I'm seeing 2 yeses so far, but mostly no. Cool. Well, thanks for popping into the chat. Whoops. So let's talk about sales automation. What is sales automation? So as you can guess from the name of it, by definition, sales automation is the process of using software to automate manual, time-consuming sales tasks. One of the most common things we measure in sales is sales productivity. A recent study indicates good salespeople today spend less than a third of their time selling, while actually increasingly more time is spent managing various admin tasks surrounding sales and demand generation. Whether you're a salesperson, sales executive, or in a customer-facing role in a growing business or startup, I'm certain that we can all agree on the direct and collateral damage done when salespeople aren't selling. The aim here is to standardize and automate your sales process as much as possible. First of all, it saves you time. But secondly, as a small business or startup, it really gives you the ability to demonstrate scale that typically had not been possible for small businesses in the past. And with the time you're freeing up from automation, it really allows you to execute and engage with your most important asset, which is your customer or prospect. So have you lost a deal because you forgot to follow up? Have you spent precious minutes adding opportunities or leads to your CRM? Have you overlooked an issue in your sales process for a long time? Have you called leads in alphabetical order rather than best fit? Have you gone back and forth with a prospect, just trying to figure out a good time to meet? Have you wasted half an hour digging through your files to find the specific deck or customer testimonial you needed? Now, I'm sure a lot of you can relate to any or all of these here, or maybe you're living them right now. And this is why we need sales automation. Sales automation benefits your business sales team and bottom line in multiple ways. Does it always have to be the sales team? It could just be one specific salesperson or two people who improve the accuracy and accelerate your sales process. Nothing really kills your deal like the time. So the key to maximizing your sales productivity is to execute and optimize the processes that really enable you to dedicate your energy and focus on the high value actions that cause sales. So the question here is, how can we leverage automation to help with optimizing the processes and increasing sales? So there are a few different ways sales automation can help your organization or business. First is rep-specific tools. Sales reps have a multitude of daily responsibilities. These aspects of sales automation will particularly help them perform better. This doesn't mean just sales reps. It could mean anyone in a sales role or responsible for customer-facing role at your company. This boils down to how much you understand where your people are wasting their time and where the efficiency can be achieved, as well as tools that can help them automate their processes. Second is a business-wide automation. Does marketing have an easy way to communicate with sales? The purpose of marketing is to generate demand and pass it on to sales. They're not the ones responsible for having conversations with customers. With that transition and handoff from marketing to sales, one of the biggest pieces of feedback we've been consistently getting from startups is that the sales teams don't understand why certain deals are being passed on to them from marketing, or marketing just isn't happy with how sales isn't following through these deals. So you want to automate notifications when deals stall out with relevant trigger events. Thirdly is knowing when to strike. You want to keep track of when it's an important time to reach out to your prospects based on the data you've collected at the right time and capitalize on these trigger events. We'll get into trigger events in a few slides. Finally is making it really easy for your prospects and customers to get in touch with you, get in touch with the sales team and start the sales process when they're ready. So let's start with sales rep specific automation tools. The purpose of these is to help them spend their time where it matters most. It boils down to where salespeople should be prioritizing their time. And remember, your sales process is an important asset to your company. You've built it so that you have an iterative process for everyone to follow. So here's an example of getting insights into someone engaging with a prospecting email. What you're seeing here is a tracked email that has been sent to a prospect. This tells me that the prospect opened my email 14 times and clicked on the link 6 times. This is telling me a whole different story. It's telling me that it's obviously important to them, it resonates with them, and they might have shared it multiple times internally with the amount of opens and clicks. One of the biggest pieces of feedback salespeople have is that they're reaching out to so many people via email at the same time, but don't know who's opening that email. Then they follow up with a second email out of the blue saying, hey, did you get my email? I'm checking to see if you're interested. What if you want to send multiple emails to a prospect in a row, assuming they don't answer the first one? So this type of information takes the guesswork out of the equation, giving you a whole picture of who's engaging and who isn't with your outreach. This tells me a very different story to another email which says it's been opened 0 times and no clicks. So if I send that email to a prospect, assuming the email address here is correct, but it's been opened 0 times, then there are a couple of things I would need to consider. First is your subject line. Sometimes which may be very spammy, so it could have just gone straight into the spam folder without being eyeballed at all. Second is perhaps the person just didn't get to it yet. Third is your subject, which just doesn't resonate with them. They might have opened it once and never gone back to it. They might have opened it once, read it, and just moved on. So to really increase response rates, we usually recommend personalizing 30 to 50% of the content, but not more than that. Our data actually shows that there are diminishing returns beyond this point. This tells me that this person opened the email for the first time at 11:26 a.m. Perhaps that's a great time to give that person a call, schedule a proper meeting, or a follow-up call or email. So let's talk about the process of scheduling a conversation with a prospect, which can sometimes feel like a tennis rally. You send over one date and time, they return with a different date and time. You send over another. Not only this is back and forth, kill your deal's momentum, but it's also inefficient. I can't remember the number of times I've gone back and forth trying to nail down a meeting. So with an appointment and meeting scheduling tool, you can go right from, hey, you want to connect on Monday at 11 a.m. to directly getting a slot on the calendar. All you have to do is just simply shoot the prospect a link to your schedule. They can see your entire calendar and choose any open time that works for them according to their respective time zone. I can also set how much buffer time I want to give between meetings to ensure I am not overbooked. And the next thing I can do with this online calendar is to use it to qualify my prospects. With a set of predetermined questions when someone books a meeting. So in my specific case, I am asking them for their first name, last name, email address, and what they would like me to answer on our call. So I can set an agenda for our call or come to the meeting well prepared. You could ask 5 questions, 10 questions, 20 questions, really depending on the nature of your business, the nature of the meeting and your role. It depends on what type of sales process you want to lead here and what type of organization you are. One of the other challenges of CRM is you really only get out what you put in. We all know the amazing benefits of having a centralized platform, a centralized CRM in place. However, that's really conditional to putting information into the CRM. If you don't put information into the CRM, you don't get anything out of it. Say you get a prospect's voicemail, you try to log the attempt in your CRM, you call 2 days later and reach them. You log the conversation in your CRM, send them a follow-up email, log the message in your CRM. You're probably just getting tired hearing that, right? So automating deal-related activity is really a no-brainer. Look for a tool that will record your calls, meetings, and emails for you. In this case, you can see here, not only it's automatically logging information, but it's also tracking it for me. You can choose to track it or not. For sending personal emails, I like to uncheck the boxes and just stop tracking those. This way you have data on when prospects open your email, click on the links you send, or download the documents you attached to the message. Prospecting, meeting confirmation, and follow-up emails usually don't and should not vary much. So avoid copying and pasting the same messages over and over again, or even less efficiently, typing out the same basic sentences over and over by creating email templates. You can build out master versions of the emails you regularly send to prospects, and then you save them as templates and populate them as you go. You can quickly customize them to the specific recipient and situation before sending them off. The templates feature allows you to add personalization tokens. So details like the prospect's name, company, and job titles, they're all filled in automatically. Alternatively, you can also build out a sequence, which is a whole sequence of events, tasks, or emails, one or the other. We'll get to sequence later. We'll look at a couple of examples of how sequences work. You can build out a sequence of emails, which goes first email, second email in 2 days, and third email in 2 or 3 days with breaks in between. So you could be attaching documents too if you feel like storing a lot of presentation decks and documents on your computer and just manually adding them in. You could save them as documents in your system and just automatically attach them to a tracked email. So this way you can gather information and data on the recipient, such as how long this document has been viewed, specific pages that are being viewed the most. Obviously, these are really small things, but trust me, they can add up when you're prospecting for 30, 50, or 100 or hundreds or a couple hundreds of leads every month or week. Now let's talk about trigger events. I know I mentioned trigger events earlier. Some of you may know or some of you don't. So timing is really everything. If you contact a prospect right after they bought an expensive product, they're not going to bite, right? But if you find out they're actually in the market for a new vendor, for a new opportunity, you can reach out to your prospects before they even start researching, which ensures that your message will be received with much more interest. So trigger events is really an occurrence that creates an opening for a sales opportunity. Sales and marketing automation workflows use trigger events to allow small organizations to scale customer interactions. So when thinking about different trigger events, you should be thinking about your own respective organization and the ideal persona you're trying to get in front of. Most trigger events aren't as obvious as a tweet or LinkedIn post announcing, hey, I'm looking for a new product for XYZ purpose. Any thoughts or recommendations? Sometimes they are, but most of the time they're not. You need to tune into the right channels to detect the sometimes subtle shifts that can warm up a cold outreach. So your trigger events really pertain to who you're selling to and what your buyer persona is like. For example, do you sell to marketing teams, sales teams, or performance teams? Or maybe customer service or ops teams. So look for specific trigger events that apply to that person, industry, or company. You also need to know and tune into the right channels to where your audience usually engages. So what do sales trigger events look like? Here are a couple of examples of these valuable use cases and where you can track them. For example, the first one, new executives. A newly hired member of the C-suite has authority and a desire to shake things up. Maybe since they don't have established traditions in their new company and are looking to prove their value very quickly, they're more open to fresh ideas than most business leaders. So it's a perfect time for you to pitch. You can track this type of event with Google Alert for the company name, the company's press releases page, or LinkedIn Sales Navigator. New job role for current contact. Say you have a satisfied customer who assumes a different position in their company or moves to a new organization. Try to reach out and see if they would like to bring your product or service along for the ride. If your offering make them look good in their last job, there shouldn't be a reason why they're not eager to spread the gospel in their new one. You can also track this type of event with LinkedIn Sales Navigator. New customer announcement or new product offering. If your prospect has just landed a significant account, they're about to have a lot more cash rolling in. Reach out with a suggestion on how to use some of that cash to their benefits, and you can track this type of event with Google Alerts, industry news or press releases page. Bad quarter, good quarter, industry changes. Is the company losing money fast? Do you sell a product or service that could reverse the trend for them? Is the company making money like crazy? Then they will be more receptive to projects that could help them continue down the path to success or accelerate their growth. Introduce yourself. These are just a couple of examples of trigger events that you can use then create customized messages or templates to reach out accordingly. And anyone who's done prospecting here would have realized that oftentimes 70 to 80% of the email content is really the same, and 30% of the content really needs to be personalized. So the aim here is for you to leverage trigger events to make your content more relevant and personalized at the right time. So let's talk about sequences. I also mentioned sequences earlier. So let's walk through an example of that. Here you can see an example of a sequence. And what you can see here is step one. An email goes out regarding a product demo that the prospect has requested, followed by a step that involves a task to call them to follow up immediately, followed by another email that goes out after another 2 days. Over here, you can add in more steps. In the bottom, you can actually add in more steps as you see fit, step 4, 5, 6, up to as many steps as you need. or you can increase the cadence between each of the sequence events. If you want to send multiple emails to a prospect in a row, assuming they don't answer the first one, you can consider teeing up an email campaign personalized to that prospect, choosing when they will send, adding personalization tokens for company, contact details, so you don't have to go into each email and customize your email one by one. And finish off with some unique details to make your messages seem human. So, and then after that, you can choose to have the messages stop when the prospect responds. The last thing you want to happen is your sequences keep being sent to your prospects even after they book a meeting with you or respond to one of your emails. You can set your sales cadence depending on the volume of your leads, your persona, and what you think is the best for them. We'll also we'll walk through another example of the sequences more thoroughly in just a few slides. But I do want to touch on a few use cases for business-wide automation tools. Most salespeople don't have time to update information in a CRM, even though they're often required to. Time-consuming tasks like manual data entry, setting reminders, assigning accounts, and monitoring opportunities really get in the way of developing relationships and actually closing business. Now, there's actually a much better way. There are a ton of ways that both marketing and sales generate leads for potential new business. But all too often, these leads fall into a holding pattern before being rotated or transferred to the right point of contact within your business. These are really precious minutes, hours, and sometimes days wasted before your team can reach these hot leads. This is something many salespeople struggle with because they don't know what their prospects are actually doing or interested in. Now, with the right workflows in place, this will help you automate the process. So you can actually create workflows. We'll walk through an example of workflows, but you can create workflows to automatically rotate leads based on any criteria you set, triggered by actions like page view notifications, form submissions, guidebook download, demo request, and much more. Now, these workflows eliminate the time and efforts that goes into manually deciding who owns what, who owns every single new lead that comes through. They really free you up to focus on actually building a relationship and closing business as soon as the leads come in. My recommendation here is to determine in what times you want to give sales and marketing these notifications and set a stage for them. Now, here's an example of a different workflow or sequence. We'll walk through the differences between workflows and sequences. They're fairly similar, but here's an example of a different sequence in which you can see there are 7 different steps with a combination of emails and tasks that are being sent to one of the prospects named Sarah. So in step 1, I send an email invitation to download my latest ebook to a targeted list of contacts. Step 2, I send a thank you note to all the people that downloaded the offer. A few days later, step 3, I send a follow-up email to the list of people who downloaded the ebook, now offering them a case study relating to that topic. Step 4, finally, when someone downloads that case study, my sales team will get a notification so they can follow up with them. This person is now much more qualified and is likely farther down the buying process than someone who never downloaded my ebook or responded to any of my emails. So now put yourself in your prospect's shoes for a moment. If this was you getting information from a company about their products or services, wouldn't you prefer to get emails like these ones over a blast that you can tell they're sending to thousands of other people? Especially if you respond to one of their emails and you're still getting follow-up emails afterwards. They can tell that this is blast that you're sending to thousands of people on your list. So it feels much more personalized this way. It feels it's really tailored to you and how you're interacting with that company. It makes you much more likely to trust that company, that brand, and ultimately more likely to buy, right? So the way sequences can be used are highly variable and you want to use them to your advantage, but using sequences or templates is not enough. As with anything that's being automated or scale, it's equally important to measure its efficiency. Think about your call to actions in your emails, and that will dictate the reply rate of your email sequences. If you want to keep your reps laser focused on the best opportunities, you should use an automated lead scoring system. And lead scoring software uses demographic and behavioral data to determine how qualified a lead is. So salespeople know exactly which prospects to prioritize. But there are actually a few things to consider before investing in this kind of tool. You need enough leads to score in the first place, meaning that if your reps or your teams are actually asking for more leads, and it's just probably better to focus on lead generation. Having enough information is crucial as well, and it needs to be the right information. From lead capture forms and data enrichment tools to online behavior and email and social engagement, there are a ton of sources to pull from. You really need to make sure that you do have, there's a centralized platform that you can pull these data from. So that you can reach out and strike these leads at the right time. And finally, a lot has been said about sales automation, and I just want to touch on the concept of marketing automation. Now, thousands of companies today still rely on email marketing to generate results. They send blast email after blast email to their entire list of prospects and customers, hoping the message resonates with some of them and really gets them to stick to purchase. But does it work? It's hard to tell. Perhaps it works for you sometimes, it works for certain companies, but the reality of the situation is this. You're really wasting your valuable time and money marketing to someone who may never buy or who may not be interested in what you're sharing. You could be burning your list, annoying your contacts, and causing them to jump ship, really leaving you with no opportunity to market to them in the future. So from my standpoint, that doesn't sound like a very effective marketing program, or at least not one that I want to use and not one that HubSpot uses. This is why we leverage a marketing automation system. Marketing automation enables you to nurture your leads through the entire buying process, delivering highly targeted, personalized messages that address their specific barriers to purchase. And what does that look like? Now, think about an insights tool that lives in your email. This will free up a ton of time for you. It can pull details from your prospect CRM records, social media profiles, and companies, so you can see everything you need to send a perfect email at a single glance. So for example, one of the visitors or one of the prospects landed on my marketing pricing page. Now, I know that, what I really need to do. I get this notification email saying that, hey, your contacts, Mr. Prospect just viewed the marketing pricing page. Now I have all this information at my disposal. And there's no need for me to open up a million tabs to discover what they recently tweeted about, their job title, or even the last page they converted on. What was that last page they visited before landing on the marketing pricing page? So now I can actually send through an automated marketing, a follow-up email, reaching out to them accordingly, saying, hey, we just noticed that you stopped by our site, or you just landed on marketing pricing page. Is there anything that we can help you with? You can set that notification can be sent to either your marketing or sales team, depending on your cadence and who you want to, and what kind of stage you want to set for your business. So I want you to remember these must-haves to largely automate and scale your processes for today's takeaways. What I would recommend is automating with a clear call to action in your email. That call to action can involve a link to the sales reps sales calendar. Second is if someone has taken one action in a series of sequences, but not the next or fallen out, think about what kind of content, what kind of related content you can send through to put it back on their radar without blasting emails to annoy them. Lastly is viewing specific content, which demonstrates buying signals. Someone viewing your products or pricing pages is absolutely vital to relevant parties involved with that prospect or account. So in this case, this could be either your sales or marketing teams, depending on who you want, depending on how these teams own new leads. Now that's the whole purpose of using these tools. But like anything, sales automation can become too much of a good thing. Sometimes you never want to automate every aspect of your sales process because then it will feel completely robotic. And as a human, you do want to add critical and irreplaceable elements to your deals, which is focusing on your relationship with your customers. So the rest of it, you can look at it holistically and automate as much as possible. So if you're blasting out automated emails by the thousands or even using an auto dialer, you've crossed over to the dark side. And beware, prospects usually don't take kindly to being pushed through this type of machine. So you never get higher conversion rates anyway with these tactics. And whereas your brand will suffer and earn a not so desirable reputation. Now with that, this concludes today's webinar.
Thank you, Emily. It's been so great to finally see you present and not just help us find great speakers, but being one yourself. Thank you for your time today. Thank you to all our Sales Academy participants. Hope to see you next week, Tuesday. Our next session will be all about how we can fuel sales growth by delivering world-class customer experience. So don't miss that. But before we get to that, we will meet in 5 minutes for our next Sales Academy Mastermind group. It's a great opportunity to connect and talk about our Sales Academy learnings thus far. You should have a calendar invite, or if you don't, I dropped the Zoom link in the chat just now, and we'll keep the chat up for a little bit. Have a great rest of your week, everyone. Bye.